Sorry. I've just been
You are a
napping.
time chair.
No, I'm saying I'll wait till
Very
7.
strict.
I'll wait till 7.
No, they said they're the same.
I'll wait till 7. Is she joining? Yes.
I'm here.
Hi, Edie.
Hi.
You're the voice. That's so All right. It's 6:59. I will call this meeting of the library board to order.
All right, roll call. Chair Marie Hotta,
Here.
Vice Chair Andy Sakaris,
Here.
Maggie Burns,
Present.
Brent Dunny,
Here.
Scott Gilbert,
Here.
Dee Dee Hughes,
Here.
Gina Olberding,
Here.
Dina Phelps, here, Amy Wilson.
Here.
We have City Council Member Chelsea Noonenkamp,
Present.
and excused, we have English Liaison Wayne Tucker. Staff, we have Director Christina Underhill, Library and Cultural Arts Manager Bethany Lafferty, City Manager Shawn.
Right. And I think everyone probably saw our new face here. We are welcoming Gina Olberding to the board. I think we have a lot to talk about tonight, but I would like it if everyone could go around and say names and how long you've been in Inglewood and how long you've been on the board, just so Gina can kind of get to meet everyone. And I'll start. I'm Marie, and I've been in Inglewood for 12 years now, 12 and a half years. And I've been on the board for 4 years. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, have 2 kids. We'll go that way.
So much pressure.
Sorry.
Why don't we start down there? Well, that way you don't have to.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
I'm throwing the torch down.
Yeah, he has to think about.
Oh,
Yep. Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing here?
I'm Amy Wilson. I've been on the board a lot of years, like 5 or so, something, I don't know. And I lived in Inglewood about 20 years, and I'm from here. I'm from Denver. And I work for the city and county of Denver.
I'm Maggie. I've been in Inglewood since 2020, and I've been on the board for a year, and I'm a pastor here in Inglewood.
Andy Sakaris, work for the city of Denver in the Denver Elections Division, and then the city clerk for the city of Denver. And my partner and I have been here for 5 years, and I've been on the board for 2.
I'm Gina Oberding. It's my first meeting. I've been in Inglewood about 12 years, and I work for the University of Colorado at the Center for Prescription Drug Abuse Prevention. And I am thrilled to be here. So thank you for saying yes to me.
I'm Dina. I've been in Inglewood for about 3 years now. I've been on the board for 1 year now. And I'm the chief of staff to a senior director at Boeing. Okay. For my day job.
Do you want me to go or you want Scott? Okay, I'm Bethany Lafferty, or Beth. I'm the Library and Cultural Arts Manager. I actually moved to Colorado last April for this position from Southern Nevada.
Okay,
And I love it here.
welcome.
I'm Scott Gilbert. I've lived here 27 years. It'll be 7 years on the board later this year. I just re-upped so I could continue to take my grandkids to the volunteer appreciation. And I patch together living a lot of different ways. But, welcome, I'm glad you're here.
Scott.
Hi, Gina. I'm Christine Underhill. I'm the Parks Rec Library and Golf Director. I started in January 2020 and went through COVID and now Meth Remediation. So we've had a lot of fun here. Welcome. Thank you for joining. So much fun.
I'm Bryn. I've been on the board for 2 years and lived in Inglewood for 5 years. And I'm an occupational therapist.
Chelsea Camp. I've been on the city council for about 1.5 years in District 2. And during that time, I've been the liaison to the public library board. So my role here is not to be a voting member, but to really listen, to offer the council perspective when asked, and then to report back to the council on work this board.
Hi, I'm Shawn Lewis, city manager, and I moved to Inglewood in 2019 and live here in the city. And yeah, I think that including the virtual meeting I was at, this is only my 2nd meeting with the library board. I need to get to all the boards and commissions, something that I don't get to do enough. So, but welcome to the board.
Thanks.
I'm Debbie Severa. I'm the executive assistant for Parks Rec Golf and the staff liaison. And I grew up in Inglewood and
Wow.
live in Inglewood now, so. Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for being so organized, Debbie.
Yes.
Big
She keeps
fan.
us on
Big
track.
fan.
Sometimes it doesn't work out.
Oh, and Edie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes,
Voice of God.
yes, I'm Edie Hughes, and I've lived in Englewood about 1.5 years, and have been on the board since, I guess, last summer,
Yeah.
the appointment was. And welcome to the library board.
So Edie, are you able to turn on your camera?
Oh, you don't have it on?
No.
Says it's on mine. That is not on?
It does look like it.
Yeah, it does look like it's on, it's just black.
It's just black.
Do you have a cover on your camera?
Are you in a really dark room?
No, there's a light above it.
Oh,
Well,
there
that's-
is a-
We just
We
saw
saw
your
a light.
hand.
How's that?
Nope.
We
Does that
do
work?
have a quorum present here
We
in the
have
room, so.
There you go.
There you
You got it.
are.
Oh, okay.
That
You-
good?
it's-
No.
No, but
I-
it's
How's
okay.
that?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
right
there
Yes,
it is.
There you go.
You got it.
Hi, Edie.
Is that good? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
All right. We need to approve the minutes from January, so move on to that. One had a chance to look.
I will move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I don't believe there's any public comment. Is that correct? Then we'll move on to new business and an update on the meth remediation.
Yeah, so actually, Shawn, the Worcester city manager, is here and he's put together a really great presentation. We're actually gonna probably cover everything on the new business side through this presentation. And so I'll have Shawn kick it off and pick up where he's.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. And as I said, getting here in 2019, some of you have been on the board longer than I've been city manager. But as I kind of looked back over the last 24 months, and some of the things that we've been trying to do more incrementally, perhaps that wasn't the right move. Maybe we should have gone big right from the beginning. But we've really been trying to incrementally take steps to improve safety here at the Civic Center and at the library. And so I thought I'd run through that, which really kind of leads into next steps and what's on your agenda. So.
And I'll
Um,
just,
oh,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, would it be helpful if we kind of held questions till the end if possible, or?
I don't care
Okay.
either way.
I was just gonna add too, when I started in 2020, we had a different library than what we see today. Through COVID closures, reopenings, closures again, we did see just a change in the population coming in and who we were serving in the library. So there was a lot, and it wasn't just Inglewood's library. We've talked to a lot of library districts and a lot of other libraries, and they have been experiencing very similar changes to the library system itself. So, but this is going to go over how we're going to potentially move forward, what we've done, what we'll be doing, and in the future.
Yeah, and I also just want to acknowledge that, Beth and Christina live and breathe this, particularly Beth. This is your world, Beth. And and so I appreciate Christina's help putting this together. But yes, please feel free to interject if you've got other things. So I kind of, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, the presentation is not showing up on the screen.
I think we have to put hit share on there.
Yeah,
Just
that'd be
look at
helpful.
the screen.
Is this the kind of thing we'd be able to look back at later then?
Yes.
Okay.
We can send this presentation out to you all after.
Oh, that would be
really
great.
helpful.
Yeah,
Thanks.
perfect.
Really appreciate it.
So I really just tried to break this down into 3 sections: improvements in the last 24 months, planned improvements, and improvements that are under consideration, which Christina will cover more. So when we look at improvements in the last 24 months, we really look at in-house security. And one of the things, one of the few staffing increases that we've had over the last few years was an in-house security staff member in the library. And that's TJ, as you may have met. And this was requested by the library and the departmental leadership in 2020 as part of the 2021 budget. And so, has TJ been on for the full year?
Yes.
Okay. And so that was funded. It does provide library staff with really, it's intended to provide for a go-to person, a point of contact, really just trying to prevent behavior by being a constant presence in the library. Was the way that was proposed to the city council. The limitation here is that, 1.5 FTE is not enough to cover all library hours. And I think that Beth has done an exceptional job of making that point, it's just simply not enough. So when we look at another request that came in the last 24 months, the library staff really being the most nighttime oriented staff in the city, were the first group to say, you know what, we've really seen an increase in people camping around here and people loitering around here. We really don't like the dark garage. So we spent $150,000, council approved that. Actually at the same time they approved the carpet improvements, same night, that provided for a much brighter garage at night. So that's benefited the entire Civic Center, but was really driven by library staff. We also, and this was a failure of mine, not recognizing that this trespass ordinance that I heard was not constitutional, was actually a major, major problem for the library. I didn't realize in order to eject people from the library, you had to have a legal trespass notice. I didn't realize we were actually trespassing people when we ejected them. In my years in city government, that I had not made that connection. So our previous city attorney, and the prosecutor basically said, oh, this is being challenged and we agree with the challenger. It's not constitutional. So the whole thing is void. We're not going to prosecute on it. Meanwhile, library staff is pulling their hair, realizing they have no really ultimate tool to get people out of the library for bad behavior. And so when this kind of came to a head in a meeting and, the light went off, the city attorney, raced to get this put in place. The trespass ordinance was approved by council in 2022, and again just allows for that ejection, which is critical as an ultimatum of you will follow the rules or else. So a lot of work went into that, and appreciate the city attorney's office doing that. The kind of simultaneous with the trespass ordinance, the ability to eject people is still subjective unless you have rules to say you are breaking rule number 3.10. And so we did not have that in place either in terms of really standardized rules for all of our facilities. And so working with library staff, when I was formerly assistant city manager in Longmont, working with library staff there, which really was about 2 years ahead of us in terms of all of the, being the front line of our response to homelessness. It's much more kind of pronounced in Boulder and Longmont. They had started working on these standards of behavior. So using that as a guide, you see a tremendous amount of overlap between these two, but we were able to pretty quickly get those. Those are administrative. So if Beth comes to me and said, I have a problem with, people leaving shopping carts, I can add to this list, shopping carts are not allowed in the library. So this is all administrative. It does not have to go through city council. We can make adjustments to that really quickly. Same with our parks rules. If those are also administrative rules that are enforced. But that, got input from the library leadership. We worked quickly to get those posted because that's another requirement for ejection is you have to have those rules posted. So we posted those in all of our facilities. We also worked to get a new security firm. Our previous security firm was just simply unwilling to engage with people that were having bad behavior. And towards the end, it just kept getting worse. We had a tremendous camping problem. A window to the library was broken out in the little alley between us and 24-hour fitness building. So not broken out, but the one pane of it is broken. I think it's probably still broken.
No, they fixed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just a lot of issues with people loitering, with people, leaving trash behind, making it not feel comfortable for a lot of library patrons. So we got rid of that security firm, upsized the budget certainly to about $500,000 for this, but we did it, and I didn't mention this, but about 3 years ago, we did a CPTED audit. CPTED is crime prevention through environmental design that looked at everything around the library, the civic center, all of our city facilities and said, are there environmental things like high bushes or bad lighting or, just maybe a lack of trash cans that creates litter? things that are creating crime because of the environment that we have, the physical environment. So one of the things they said is, you've got a security company for municipal court, you've got one for Eve, and you've got one for the Civic Center. This is, and there, I think it was 3 companies. I mean, totally inefficient. So we consolidated all of those. It was a little bit bigger contract once you took all 3 of those together, but it has transformed this campus. I don't know if Beth or Christina feel that way. It is like night and day, and we know them. They talk to us, they talk to patrons, they're helpful, but they also really, have prevented a lot of the behaviors that we were seeing, more so on the outside of the campus. I don't think that this helps as much on the inside of the library, but it certainly has helped on the outside.
Allied Universal.
It is, it's Allied Universal. The other thing that they did, if you go out the store right behind the coffee pot here, there's a little sticker on the wall. We've put checkpoints all around the building and throughout the library that the guard has to walk by and check in that they have patrolled that area. So it's using technology a little bit better just to make sure that they're frankly doing their job.
Can you remind me the hours for Allied? Like,
Yeah, and
it's
that's
not
probably
24/7, right?
right. And that's definitely a limitation. I should have
Okay.
added a limitation to that. That this really, it does not cover, is it the week? What part of the weekend, if any?
So
does
the
it cover?
outside security is 24/7. Internally, it was only Monday through Friday during business
That's right.
hours. In fact, they ended about 4 o'clock. We've extended that to 7:30, I believe, Monday through Friday, and then
I think just Monday through Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. And then we're extending through the weekend too. So, yeah, initially it did not cover, that's where a lot of challenges came in, was we didn't have coverage for security.
And I think that that was a real kind of failure of this, is not taking into consideration, this facility is a much, longer houred facility than just what, employees in the Civic Center. So I appreciate the library really advocating for, you've got to change this, because they were right. Next, I want to talk about some training that has taken place. Starting in 2022, we did a situational awareness training in our all-staff meeting that we have every 2 months. We have this, so 6 times a year. And that was provided by the police department, our impact team, an impact team member who really kind of shared some information that we then passed out to send an email to staff with tips on how to really be aware of your surroundings. We actually had the Inglewood PD, kind of a dispatch librarian training to introduce those new standards of behavior. They also kind of dug a little deeper into situational training, when to call PD, when to call co-responders. More recently, and Beth was in this in the last 2 weeks, we've had mental health first aid training. And this was not something that EPD had historically invited the library to, but realizing that the librarians are doing, very similar to work to co-responders in some way, in terms of their interactions with people. And so they invited them to participate in that. And then we also you all just wrapped up de-escalation training it's a national training for libraries, specifically working for librarians working with unhoused.
Yeah, have you heard of Ryan Dowd? He's quite a guy.
Author, is there a book?
He's written books.
Yeah,
I feel like we
His
talked
book
about.
is titled The Librarian's Guide to Homelessness.
Okay, yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I get a newsletter from him, I think weekly, and just gives tips and tricks in dealing with somebody that's really agitated and how to de-escalate. But yeah, he runs the largest homeless shelter. I think it's the largest homeless shelter in Illinois. And
In like the suburban Chicago area.
yeah, so he has firsthand experience, but yeah, excellent trainings with him.
And really, we need to keep that up. One of the things that we talked about when library supervisors and myself, the city attorney, and police command staff met was really the need for more check-ins, so that, librarians feel comfortable, contacting EPD. They know what to tell dispatchers. I mean, lots of different things that better, more increased communication can help with those relationships. And then some planned improvements, again, that probably Beth and Christina are much more familiar with. You all are very familiar with this one. You recommended this in your capital improvement plan for the library. As you know, our city charter actually asks the library board as one of your tasks to come up with a capital plan. If you have big ticket expenditures that are needed for the library, physical improvements to the library, you have a duty within the charter to bring those to us. And so one of those was, we really need a single point of entry. We agree. So we put some money in this year's budget to really analyze that, put together a plan, costs of how that would look like, which entrance to use, or a separate, new entrance, et cetera. So we are, I believe, when the library reopens, we are going to have a single point of entry in one of the two doors. Have we decided which one?
So,
Is it on there?
The one off the parking garage.
correct.
Yeah. Yes.
South side only.
This building always turns here.
I know.
This is south side of the building.
I'm like west because it's facing the mountains. I always get confused. But anyway, I
So the
think,
parking.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be really, really a good trial run in what this looks like. When we go to the new point of entry, potentially off of the 24-hour fitness, or if this one works, how it's gonna work. I think I'm really excited for the opportunity, not the situation that led to it, but the opportunity to reopen with a newly kind of configured floor plan essentially. So I am very much committed, and I think City Council is too, with implementing the permanent solution after we get the results of that analysis back. Yeah, hopeful to have that. That's, I know the architect you said was meeting.
Yeah, we're supposed to meet this week. They were all sick. So probably next week or the following, we'll be meeting to discuss the opportunities. We already met with our in-house architect and she's come up with some ideas and looked at best cases and other best practice in other city libraries as well. So probably by the next meeting, we may have more information on that.
For the time being, assume if it's open before, does that just mean that the door will be and remain locked?
That's the plan.
Okay.
It'll be accessible for emergency exit or something like
Yeah.
that, but people will not be able to enter that way. And the north lobby's been one of our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a really good trial.
And then with mucho kudos to Beth for really making a great case, looking at other libraries, looking at our staffing levels, relative to population, to our patron numbers, et cetera, and really making it very much aware, making us all aware that we needed to staff up. And so council has seen fit with Beth's and Christina's proposal to increase by 2 full-time library staff. You can see there, you all have reviewed this, so I don't need to spend a lot of time. And then the 4 part-time library associates. We are looking at about a $260,000 budget amendment that originally, I think the original numbers to council were 239, 220, 229. Yeah.
220 something.
220 something. That's gone up. That's gone up. We thought it was going way up because the numbers that HR gave us, based on some classification work that they did, came in really high. And looking at that, we think it's a little too high because I think they were basically giving us numbers for library 2s and 3s, and these are library and 1s.
Yeah.
And so we've saved some money, and I want to give credit to Chelsea, who emailed us over the weekend. Christine and I were like, why is this number so much bigger? Because it was like 330 or something. It's a lot more money. So we also, though, in order to try to get this closer to what council approved in the study session, we also unfortunately pulled back 20,000 of that program expansion money that we were going to have. I think that that's something that we can look at for the 2024 budget if we need some more funding for that. But I think, the crux of that proposal was the staffing. So sorry, Beth, that we're scaling back on that a bit, but we want to keep it as close as we can to what council.
Well, and I'll just add, so the Broncos sales money, we have that kind of in our back pocket. So as we go through the year, if we start seeing like these new positions are killing it, let's add some more programs. I'm pretty sure council would say, yeah, let's use some of the Bronco money to support our library programs.
Can you explain the Bronco money?
Yeah, so the Broncos, I don't know all the exact details.
Thank you.
But a lot of cities got money that had originally contributed to the building of the
Got it.
Broncos Stadium. And when the new ownership came on, it was sold pretty much. And so we got 1.1 million, about $1.2 million from that. And we have about 480 something left to spend. So
You're marked for youth and child programming,
Okay.
actually.
we can do that in the library.
Yeah,
The library,
Yeah. It actually has to be it was the deal that they made with the 7 counties and the municipalities that went in together to
Got
put
it.
in the stadium tax. For the stadium, they said, if we ever sell the team, you'll get this rebate, and that happened.
I mean, they sold it for $1 billion something, like
Yeah.
3 billion, but we only got 1.1.
Thanks Walmart.
That's a different conversation.
Council's gonna vote on this on the 21st of this month, this budget.
The budget amendment, yeah. And then we haven't really put together the Broncos money plan.
We haven't, yeah, but that's just something, there's a lot of things on the table from
It just needs
recreation
to-
and parks and library, and so there's a lot of opportunity there. We also are gonna be going for our Parks and Rec bond, which will possibly impact some of the things we might have purchased with the Broncos money. We may put that on the bond instead, like a new training for the train park, so things like that. So yeah, keep that in mind. I can share that later in the year when things are a little slower, maybe.
Yeah.
And we'll be asking you to lobby and advocate for that bond election until the moment council puts it on the agenda, and then staff has to be silent. From then on, we're in the code of silence.
But
Okay.
if I understood you correctly, it's possible that there could be an amendment this year for more programming, just not certain. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the money. I
Yeah,
mean,
we're okay either way. We have options, which is great, but just for this, we're just gonna focus on staffing up programs.
and I should say we have money for children's and youth, so
Yeah.
not just everything. Yeah.
The other could be reallocated if necessary.
Yeah. So the other thing that we're moving really quickly towards, we think that this is definitely probably gonna happen. We're waiting on final proposals from some companies, but is to increase safety of the library through drug use prevention through this Halo drug detection sensor. It moves air through the sensor for in whatever room it's in. It detects. Originally, these were more for vaping, for marijuana, but they really beefed them up to where now they can detect meth and lots of other drugs. Fentanyl, yeah. And so we're
COVID.
Really?
There's a lot it can detect in the air, and I don't know what system exactly we're gonna get. It might be the gold system. This is super cool. So it sends an alarm. So if Shawn goes into the bathroom and starts vaping, smoking meth or fentanyl, the alarm will start sounding. And so staff, this is something we're talking about, is how do we react to that?
Mhm.
PD can only ticket and release, but if we can get PD there fast enough, we'll start ticketing people. That's part of the security talk, but I feel like this may change everything for the long term in behavior, because if that thing's screaming when you go smoke meth, nobody's gonna want to go back in those bathrooms. Hopefully that cleans them up. So this is really, we're excited when these came across the desk. Companies started reaching out to us saying, hey, we have this product. And it's really cool.
It was actually, oh, go ahead.
I was there's like an audible device in the bathroom, not just like
It tracks it, so we can see data that's collecting, and it will alert staff via text or through an email or whatever saying, hey, this alarm just went off, but it also is audible, so. A lot of different moving pieces with this thing, but this could be life changing. It is in schools. A lot of schools have these in their bathrooms to keep kids from vaping and to stop that behavior, so.
And this is really a side benefit of all of the, is there any such thing as bad publicity? Well, probably.
Yeah.
And in this case, though, this was a positive outcome. There were companies all over that there aren't a lot of companies doing this, but they saw the media reports and were like, oh, we're gonna call the city of Inglewood.
Yeah.
And offered, so.
And they're not that expensive. They're not something that most people would put in their home, but I think they're like $1,500 a sensor. And to me, that's worth
Okay.
every penny if we
Oh, yeah.
can change
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah. Another thing that is being, I think the library staff, I assume you all have talked about this because I.
Yeah, no, we've got plans in the works for this.
Okay.
And the library board probably will want to weigh in on this, but, badged restrooms. So discouraging unauthorized use and rule breaking, increases accountability. The limitation here is it's gonna require a staffing commitment, but it sounds like y'all are working on that, and maybe with the additional staffing, that will be less of an issue.
Is it the kind of thing where someone would come to the desk and ask to get a badge or to?
Wait, it'll either be that a staff member will approach the library door and badge them in. We do have one station right now that has like a release button that you can press and then it unlocks it for a moment to let a person in. But we only have one place with that. And that's at the designated security desk. And with the single entrance, we also would like to relocate the security desk, which would then require the relocation of the button, and we don't know how feasible that will be or not. So it may begin with just badging access. But I think the increased staffing will help make, the security person on duty available, as well as the designated person in charge more available, because the person in charge won't necessarily be at a desk providing, patron service. They'll be able to kind of roam around and fill in that gap. So I have a couple different kind of tiers of duty for the bathroom
Nice.
situation.
And I'll add, we did lock the bathrooms in 2021. We did lock those because we were having some issues back then to gain some control. We had such negative feedback towards the staff. We got lots of emails about personal rights and all of this. And so we ended up just unlocking it because it became such a hassle to let people in there. But at this point in time, we have every reason to be doing this. Back then, we really didn't, other than just behavior.
Are there like code of conduct rules surrounding what can be brought into the bathrooms as well? Is that like?
That's being looked at right now.
Okay.
So Boulder is not going to allow any personal bags, which from a female perspective, little concerned on that. I don't know how that's going to be handled long term, but they are not allowing, somebody to bring full backpack or all their belongings in with them. They're only, I think, allowing 2 people at a time with the security.
I don't remember what
presence.
I don't remember what their limitation was for number of people in the
Yeah,
restroom.
they were going to limit it,
But I know that they were, like, that was one of the things they were talking about considering limiting, and then, the personal items. But I think that they're having designated people, like, that's what their duty is to manage bathrooms. I don't know for sure if their bathrooms have reopened yet.
I don't think they
I don't
have.
think
No,
so.
that's what I
Yeah.
heard.
Additionally, do we currently supply feminine products in the bathrooms? And is
We-
that something that?
They're
we
not
brought
in
up?
the bathrooms,
Okay,
but
that
we
makes
do
sense.
provide them.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
So Christina has really been leading our staff effort with public works and facility staff and probably some of the library staff. So if you can, please.
Got it. So there's been a lot of ideas, conversations regarding what can we do here? This is a very odd building with the amount of entry points and exit points that we have. And so the first thing we thought was, let's just put a guard at every single entrance that either wands you as you come in, which could help in what people actually are able to bring into the library. Like shopping carts can't come in those things. We got a quote back on that. That was around $400,000 just to do that, to put a guard at every single entrance through the times that we are open. You do see that in a lot of other municipal type buildings, that there are guards. Does Denver, in your facility, do you guys have guards?
Yeah, we have metal detectors and guards for all facilities.
Okay, so we know a lot of other municipalities are doing that. It may be cost prohibitive, but it's on the table still. Obviously the metal detectors would be a big deal to get, because like I said, it's been hard, because from library staff they're carrying, they want to allow, these are people's personal belongings, that's all they have in their life. And so we've allowed things to come in. Because we don't have lockers for them to put it in. That's a conversation we're also having, is maybe we get some larger lockers that you can store your items in for the day. They're cleaned out at night. And if stuff's in there, it's gone. So there's a lot we're working on. Our building official, fire marshal, they all met and walked the facility, and what they came up with, this is another proposal, is to close the second floor entrance. So the entrance you all came in tonight would be closed to the public. Be staff entrance only, and you could only enter from the north side or the south side first floor entrances, which is, I think, primarily where most people come in. And so looking at that, so that would eliminate 3 guards down to just 2. And there is a large wall that's currently down. So when you leave tonight, you can actually peek down to that lobby, and it's a fire door that comes down. It's not really sightly, but it could be a small wall we put up so people can't go where the library entrance is and hang out. That's part of our problem, is we had a lot of people just hanging out throughout the day, just sleeping there, doing whatever. And that's really not the library's purview, but it kind of became part of their purview. And so, yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces still. We're figuring out the cost analysis. We're meeting again this week as a staff group. And that's everybody from PD to library staff, city manager's office, attorney's office, just about every finance. Everybody's involved with this process because we want to get it right and change the behavior. That's the ultimate goal. Is this is no longer welcome here. It never was welcome before, but this can't keep happening. We don't want to keep doing this. So any ideas that you may have, anything you've seen in other cities,
any buildings that you've gone in and you're like feeling safe. My goal is for moms that come in for story times, feel very safe coming into our building. People that are older that may not feel comfortable will start coming back into the library because we put a lot of great things in place.
And, I think all of our goal is to stop having to, try to improve security because we have good security, that we can get back to providing library services. And certainly, this is the time when we need to focus. As Christina said, it's all hands on deck with, the departments involved, facilities. Yeah, there are a lot of code things that we have to think about too, from building code, fire code, ADA, Americans with Disabilities. So, the goal is to get this right, get us to a point of stability where we can really focus on the amazing work that our library staff has done for 120 years.
No,
So-
102.
Oh, I always transpose numbers.
2020 was our 100th. We didn't get to celebrate
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It was like that July. We planned it.
Like we started.
So, I'll just.
Although in 1903 was when we were incorporated, but the
Oh.
library was,
Library is
later.
first, so library rules.
More budget for us.
I'll just give a quick update on the remediation that's been going on. So the first floor south lobby right below us was cleaned last week and tested, came back good. So that is reopening, which means you get access at least to that entrance probably tomorrow if it wasn't already open today. Second floor bathrooms were cleaned and tested, all good, came back. So those are gonna be reopening. They're currently cleaning the first floor north lobby. They just started that yesterday. And that's a much larger space, so I'm not sure how long that's gonna take, but as soon as they're done there, they'll test. And then they'll move into the library. Actually, they're in the library.
They already put their protective outer layer of the bathrooms in the library. I don't know if they're actually cleaning yet. I think they just set that stuff
Okay,
up.
so they
today.
should start this week.
Does that mean the second floor does not require remediation? It just.
It did.
Oh, it still
It's
does.
been-
Okay.
Yeah, for last week, it's been under
Got it.
remediation, so
that actually ends though, we're just waiting on tests.
it came back.
Oh, it did, sorry.
Yeah. We're good, So which is great, which is showing the cleaning is working.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, and thank you for that article. We're seeing a lot more about just the meth. If you have it, it's not really a huge health concern unless you're directly exposed to it. So that makes, I think, all of us feel just a little bit better. And then, so yeah, the library bathrooms will be last. We do want to reopen, but honestly, there's no rush because we're trying to get a lot of stuff in place quickly. I think council's gonna have to approve possibly a updated contract if the price goes up, if we want to move in that direction. So there's still a lot of moving pieces, but I'm really happy with city staff, management, and council. Everybody's been moving really fast and been really responsive. This isn't really what was in our goals for the year, but here we are. So we're definitely in a better spot than we were a month ago. And yeah, I was just thinking back to our last board meeting. This was not the conversation.
So is it just the bathroom or is it outside? of the
So
bathroom?
it's just the bathroom. Our internal custodial crew actually did a cleaning of the library floor, all touch points, all surfaces. That happened Sunday and Monday.
Okay.
So yesterday and then the weekend. And so that's ready to go. And staff is just, yeah, I'll let Beth update what they've been working on, but a lot's getting done. So.
Is there a future testing plan? Like I fully understand it's very expensive, so I get that, but like what is sort of the plan for sort of
That's
future
a good
testing?
question. So we're learning more, and I think a lot more is going to keep coming out about how you deal with this as a public agency, not just a homeowner. That's what it's all geared towards, homes.
100%.
But what we're learning more is it may just be a deeper clean that we might be cleaning maybe biannually, maybe quarterly, deeper in areas. I think those. What's happening?
Oh, no.
It's always happens in this room, just.
Nobody's
Yeah, so it's a cost thing, but we're learning more about next steps and cleaning products and what we could be using to keep everybody safe. The detection system will also let us know, since the bathrooms have the highest concentration, that'll really be the test point. And that's why we're wanting to get those hopefully installed quickly so we can monitor. If those aren't going off and our air quality is good, we probably won't be testing at all because we have no concern. And if staff isn't seeing anything or patrons aren't seeing anything,
And what a lot of our fellow agencies like South Suburban, Arapahoe County Libraries, different cities, once Inglewood and Littleton tested, there was kind of a big timeout. Can someone please tell us what the actual health effects of this is, not what they are? And so, yeah, people are like, we're just gonna do the cleaning, go straight to cleaning, which is a more cost-effective way. So if we do have suspicions of use, if we've had sensors going off, if we have, visible, we're witnessing things, I think we just probably will set up a regularly scheduled, annual cleaning. And where the tests were the hottest, if you will, the most concentrations were in those exhaust vents, which is where you want to find, a dangerous residue. You want to find it exiting the building. And so the numbers like on the walls and the countertops, things like that were much lower. They were still higher and still required this deep cleaning, but I think we were all thinking it would have to go down to the studs like a house does but the numbers were low enough that it just needed this 3-part cleaning that's underway now. And so, I think everything we've told you tonight is with the goal of trying to prevent this from happening again.
And the numbers, when you say low, they were measured against the residential standard, right? Which is all the state has at this point. Yeah.
And Arapahoe Public Health, which was 10 days old when this happened to us.
Oh, yeah.
So Arapahoe County Public Health. So that was a little bit of it was a little tricky. They're stood up, but they were a little bit delayed getting us guidance on that. The state was very reticent to give us guidance, to tell us what symptoms and what help. And now I think there's been so much buzz about this. They finally have released this. Last week, the county stood up a website that's all about meth contamination. So we're getting better advice and guidance now, but I think if we can prevent and then do regular cleaning, I think we can avoid this in the future.
In terms of like the cost for like testing and remediation, I feel like I should know this, but like, did that come out of library budget or that's like city budget?
It's actually, it's out of our risk funds, that we're gonna be paying for it. I think it was 45,000 for the cleaning piece of it. And the testing, it's about $2,000 a test location.
Sounds right.
I think, so it's not cheap. We did have a delay in getting test results back this week from last week because so many people are testing, they ran out of the actual testing product. So I guess that's good news that others are aware and are doing something about it, but yeah, it's not cheap. So we are gonna be testing the recreation center in Valley as well for kind of peace of mind, or we need to clean. It's not as big of a deal, I think, moving forward, because we know we haven't seen use there, but could be. So if we have to clean those, then the price will go up.
After that aerobics class, hit it.
It's not typical to go smoke meth and then get on a treadmill, but.
Stranger things have happened, and we're dealing with this in Denver too. So this is not, I think it's sort of, I think the more education out there though, but there's just a political hysteria around everything has fentanyl in it, and fentanyl is killing everybody. And I think, and I've spoken to a number of healthcare professionals about this. It isn't a huge risk, right? But just the word meth is, you see, it's Breaking Bad, right? It's all sort of the TV shows. I think sort of my sort of ask to the city marketing team is, once we are ready, we need to go on an offensive sort of. People don't know what the hours are. They're quite frankly scared to bring their kids due to the homeless population that is there. We need to change sort of the narrative around the library, or it's going to continue to be underutilized and, quite frankly, not worth continued investment in staffing if we can't get the numbers back up of residents, taxpayers. I want to still continue on doing those services to support folks, but maybe we do not do the Connect program here anymore, right? Maybe it moves to another location. I think we need to think about library first, at least in my opinion, and finding the wraparound services for folks, but maybe not centering them here because we know it's a hotspot as it is. But thinking about partnering with one of the houses of worship or one of the other nonprofits or one of the other locations. But, we need to go on a real sort of re-education of the community, because everyone I know in the community is like, I saw you guys in the New York Times doing a math and I'm like, oh, awesome. But I think once we're ready, we need to have some communication about it.
Totally agree.
And we sort of started talking about what that could look like in terms of how we would push it out. Because I think that's the biggest question, is how would we get that out to the community? But we've been discussing how to put together that message.
You know, I mean, the problem with the narrative is it's based on reality. And I mean, so the reality is gonna have to change. You know, I mean, you mentioned something a little bit ago. You said police can only ticket and release. What's that about?
So if you go in the bathroom and I catch you smoking meth, they'll come and give you a ticket, but you can't be arrested
Why?
unless you have other priors or other
Right.
reasons to arrest. That's what the law is. I mean, that's
Just a misdemeanor.
That's a state.
Well, that's one of my questions. You can get arrested for a misdemeanor. I mean, I'm not clear why it's just a ticket.
We need to have probably an attorney or the police chief here for that.
Right.
But it was the decriminalization that the state legislature
SB
did
21,
2 years
271,
ago.
right.
I mean, it was really a terrible law.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand that. It's just, I mean, because I hear from police, like, we don't bother because the courts will just kick it loose and stuff. I mean, is there I mean, I know, you know, when I was a young jerk, I did not like being hassled by police, you know, it was quite unpleasant. And I wonder, I mean, could they step up what they can do? Have they taken a little too much of a laissez-faire approach?
They're part of this conversation. They've been involved in every meeting that we have had, and, you know, they're struggling for staffing, and that's something it's also coming down of getting more staff. Yeah, it was talked about last night at the council meeting. So, and on the 24th, that's going, or 21st, it's going back to council for more funding of our officers based off of the ballot initiative that was passed. So there's a lot of moving pieces for the better going on right now. It just doesn't happen overnight. And so patience is going to be key. And yeah, there's a lot of conversations around how do we slow this or stop this behavior in public spaces overall.
But I don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, it was a bit of a perfect storm when the library issues were coming to a head. You know, the police department was as short-staffed as they had ever been. We'd had 2 major police-involved shootings that took 4 people immediately off the street, you know, indefinitely. We didn't know when they were coming back. We had 3 on baby. We have a new baby bonding time. We had 3 on that. We had like multiple on-the-job injuries that had people either out or on light duty. And cops were frustrated when they would show up to the library and the librarians had called and the person had left. I mean, there was frustration, and that's why we said, okay, we've got to bring these groups together. We got to start talking. We need the leaders talking to each other, and that's really the goal, is to increase understanding each other's needs, wants, and, you know, what we really have to do to keep things safer. But what the council did was allocate funding for 6 additional officers. So we put 2 in the budget for 2023 and just kind of 8. That was our only additional new staff positions that we added. And then the ballot measure for alternative policing has allowed us to free up all the money we've been spending on alternative policing is now funded. That frees up money to hire 4 new officers and 2 desk positions and a dispatch supervisor that really will get us up to the levels where we can patrol the streets and be very much more responsive to calls like this, calls of safety, you know, at the rec center, whatever it might be. So we're encouraged, but it was just a bad timing.
Frankly, though, I would not be more encouraged to come with my kids if there are more police in the library. Like, that's not, like, I think that the root issue is. Is there,
I'll just say, does the MRU respond to library calls?
Yes, in fact, they respond to more library calls than
Okay.
officers do.
We work
They're
really
wonderful.
closely with them.
And that's the mobile
Share-
response.
Yeah, yeah.
We share what that program is.
Yes.
Just
Yeah, so we're a pilot program. I think we're the only other city besides Denver, city and county of Denver, that has this, but it's a mobile response unit. It's called Cahoots in some places, and the STAR program in Denver. And basically it's a big van, kind of almost an ambulance. They have some limited medical supplies on there. They have a co-responder. They have also a licensed kind of clinician that responds with that. And what we're seeing, I talked to Matt Mander, who was at the council meeting last night for security, and I said, how's it going? He said, you know what's interesting is now they're jumping calls, meaning the dispatch will dispatch an officer and the MRU will say, we've worked with them 3 times in the last month. We'll take this one. And so they're going out and really like relieving pressure on officer time, but really providing a lot of mental health assistance. They're providing medical assistance. They're connecting them to resources. I'm actually really expecting to see people becoming housed because of the connection to resources and, you know, finding a veteran that actually has VA benefits. And so they're really equipped to do all of those things. And we're the first after Denver to have this in all health.
And we're seeing great success with that in Denver as
Good.
well.
Speaking of resources though, at one point there was conversation about a separate resource center for the unhoused. Is that any continued conversation? Because that feels like the answer to move some of the traffic elsewhere.
Yeah, we're looking at some grant opportunities through DOLA, the Department of Local Affairs, the state. They have some funds potentially for that. One of our only facilities that we have that would be available, a city facility, is the Tejon Fire Station, which is down, it's kind of on the hill that we call the hill, across Santa Fe, in the industrial area. What's that?
That doesn't seem accessible to.
I know, I don't think it's ideal either, but we're gonna do an analysis of that. The other building that we own is the Fox Building, which is right behind the police department, certainly more centrally located. And I'm hoping that Tri-Cities, the Tri-Cities Homelessness Policy Committee, that we are part of, I suspect that could be a contention, a site that we could use for that. The issue with that building is that it was purchased with Department of Justice, DOJ funds for policing services. But alternative policing has been expanded so much that we think that Navigation Center, Resource Center, which a Navigation Center is a resource center, that would be an allowed use by the federal government.
Is the Fox building, is that the one code enforcement is in?
We are actually not using the building. It's got a leaky roof.
Okay.
It needs some work, but it's currently not occupied. We've got some really minimal storage in there, but.
Okay.
That is in the Tri-Cities plan that we have, like that's
Yeah.
the big next step to the navigation center.
Yeah.
But that is a regional plan, it's in partnership with Sheridan and Littleton, so it wouldn't
Great.
necessarily be an Inglewood only
But
place,
if it's another,
but it's part of that regional approach.
And the RFP, request for proposals for that facility, Littleton has taken the lead in running that. And we just got the final version of it and it should be released within a week.
great.
And Bridge House, Ready to Work program is coming online in 2024.
Partially in 2023, so Bridge House Ready to Work is a program that's in Boulder and in Aurora. And this will actually be, I think, their largest facility. It'll house 75 people that are currently experiencing homelessness, but that are ready to get off the streets, ready to enter a job training program. We're going to hire some of the individuals that will be living there. The county will be hiring some of the folks. And so they've got some really great job training programs. And then after a year of living there in kind of dorm style living, you're transitioned into permanent housing. So we're hoping that can really prioritize people that are experiencing homelessness in the Tri-Cities, the people that we are seeing that may be ready to be housed.
They purchased land in Inglewood for that program and the city granted them. How much did they grant?
It's it's almost $1 million. I think it was 850,000.
Okay.
That's the place down on Windermere.
And Littleton put some money into that, and Sheridan put some money in, but it is on Windermere.
I have one other quick question how does RTD factor into all of this? You know, I mean, as someone who takes the train most days to Denver, I could see they should not test those trains. All of them would be out of commission. But, I think the security has been extremely lax at our station. Like the laxest of all the stations that I take the beeline into sort of the metro. I very rarely see people in the parking lot, like patrolling this, even cleaning, quite frankly, the station. Some of the lights don't work. Like, I think talking to RTD and just saying, hi, friends, don't forget it. I know you don't like the C line and all the lines are gone, but good luck getting downtown. But, I think thinking about, while we can't do anything about it, like, they have to do some better security of the platform.
Great point. I mean, it's a big agency that doesn't always listen to us, including Save Our Line. But it's a great point and maybe something that council should engage in politically. So thank you for that feedback. I got lighting is bad, station is unclean, most lack security of any station.
I mean, at least from here to downtown. I mean, like, it's by far, I see that, like, I don't know.
I see people at
Yeah.
the Oxford station all the time, like cleaning or something, so if you don't see it.
We actually got an petition today to have a meeting with RTD.
Great.
Oh,
And so
serendipity.
local official engagement. So that's happening in March. So that's a helpful agenda.
Perfect.
And I would add too that the elevator that's intended for the RTD station is highly, highly problematic. Yes.
It was out
Does
of
it even
commission
work?
for 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
It does work now. It was-
It should still work now.
For how long? We're not sure.
Yeah, a week after we opened it, there was a fire in it and it,
Oh,
People are living in there on the cold nights. I mean,
Yeah.
they
Right.
take over, so it's not what it's intended to be for, but that's what it's being used for. So yeah, a lot of challenges. Our security team, the allied security team, that's the patrol outside, does report on a lot of the incidents that they've experienced there. And those reports get sent to our facility staff, Beth gets them, and our court staff get them as well. So we're kind of monitoring what's going on. That might be good to have some of that information for that meeting with RTD.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, can you pull that together?
yeah, we can. We have all the reports.
Since we
Log in with
started-
the
I like those.
Yeah.
Got a big fat email folder.
Well, any other questions for Shawn? I don't know if you want to stay for the whole meeting or sneak out.
Love to, I have dinner plans. Well, nice to be with you. If you didn't know, you're one of the few original, departments mentioned in the city charter. You are a storied body that was called upon by the fathers and mothers of the community. So thank you for what you do. You're part of history, and this sadly is part of our history,
Yeah.
but as Christina said, I think we're gonna emerge stronger.
You know, it was embarrassing, but I'm glad it
Yeah.
happened, because I think a lot of things were drifting, and this is a really good mind focusing
Yeah.
exercise.
thank you for coming and being here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shawn. Take care.
Beth and Christina. Debbie for everything. See you.
All right. Do you have an update then as far as new business, or are we? Did that cover
I
everything?
think we've covered
I think that,
for what we have now.
Okay.
I mean, we may be reopened by the next meeting, we may not, depending
Yeah.
on how the cleaning goes. So, yeah, is there?
I can't think of any.
Okay. Like Christina sent emails with what the staff is doing, but like,
I guess the only thing I would potentially add that's kind of more specific to these concerns is, just some of the new processes, like the new procedures I'm working on putting into place with the security staff, and then the library supervisors, myself, and then the to be hired librarians. We recently, we finally got that book that Melinda shared with us, received this new book called Library Security, Better Communication, Safer Facilities, just to give ourselves some kind of broader education about how to, manage our facility more safely and proactively. There's also going to be in March that I think, no, it's in April, I'm sorry, April 27th and 28th, that we will be sending at least 2, if not 3 staff to the Library Journal Public Library Safety Summit in Columbus, Ohio.
would you like money for that?
Perhaps, actually.
Oh, we're in a new year.
Yeah, yeah. We missed
Fresh.
that on the agenda, but we have
Fresh,
$3,000.
But yeah, because I think we're, possibly myself and then 2 of the supervisors will attend this summit. It's definitely designed, in its description says it's designed for kind of larger scale library systems, and a lot of the committee that put it together, the director, Michelle Jeske from Denver is part of it, as well as other, big municipal libraries, or like larger city libraries, I should say. But it's also aimed at any size library experiencing urban issues, which Englewood does.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to have learned about this and have some staff go to that.
Please let us know.
So yeah, I'll look at what the registration costs are and stuff like that, because that's what we're trying to get started on, is doing all the travel and training paperwork.
There would be,
I'll be
yeah,
asking Debbie
travel.
about all that, but yeah. So yeah, that would be great. So that was just a couple of things I was gonna share about like the work we're doing on our end
Okay.
to be more proactive in preventing.
Yeah.
These kind of.
It sounds like you and the staff have actually had time to like dig into training and all that,
Yeah,
which
so
has been beneficial.
like Scott was saying, like, we didn't really love this happening, but it is providing a really great opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a little concerned of like, we don't know when we're gonna open again. I think we need to be really strategic about reopening. Like, I would delay reopening and be more strategic than just be like, the bathrooms are clean, turn on the
Yeah,
lights and open the
That's the
doors.
conversation. That's what I was kind of getting at. We're not in any huge rush. I know the
Yeah.
public wants it to be open, but we've got to get this right.
Yeah.
We've got to get everything in place. So the biggest one is how is this building overall changing as far as security is
Yeah.
concerned? What's that going to look like? That has to be answered almost first, because internally in the library, we could open tomorrow, and I think we've got a good plan in place for the south side only, as security's moving, the bathrooms are locked, staff have been trained further. There's things, we're gonna be enforcing rules much harder. The little free pantry that we had to give food out is gonna be moving back, so it's not out in the open any longer. Our charging stations for cell phones, we're talking about moving some of these things that attracted people in that, caused some of these issues. This has been a challenge, and so, yeah, I agree. Strategic going forward is what we're looking at, because we wanna get this right reopening.
What is going to happen with the north lobby? Like, will
That's part of the conversation.
the north?
Part of it was maybe that's the area moving forward that the resource.
That's what I was-
Meets in until they get a more permanent
Why
location.
can't that be right there?
It's possible. That's part of the conversation
Okay.
that's gonna happen this week. It's been a moving target. We're trying to figure out, there's a lot of factors. This is a weird building.
I would like some walls, like not glass walls, but.
Yeah, there's things you can do, window coverings that we can put in the libraries. You can actually see in there. You can't access the library from that side anymore. So, yeah, that's definitely something, but yes.
Okay.
Did we get all the meth off the horse-drawn trolley?
For sure.
No comment.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, let's move on to old business. Just a heads up for everyone that we will be electing officers at the March meeting. Is there anything, does anyone have questions?
So to kind of, give some information on the terms and that. So it's a one-year term. A member can hold the office for 2 terms. So Maria and Andy are eligible for a second term if that's the route you guys do want to go, but just so you know that. Is there anything else? Any questions that you guys?
It would have just been a little helpful last year to know like what's the purpose and then what responsibilities do they have? Just for someone who was very new and had no idea.
Obviously to run the meeting and that, so Marie, and if Marie's not available, then Andy, to approve the agenda. I will come up with the draft agenda, based off of what staff has, and then quote that to them and to get their approval or any additional agenda items. And then, if there are maybe, well, I was gonna say, maybe during the month or something will come up or where,
Like a joint CIP meeting that nobody else wants to go to, but the
Yeah.
chair has to be there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I also, I requested Shawn come tonight.
Yeah.
I was like, hi, please come and, I think, it's not a heavy burden
No,
by any stretch. But, I think it's definitely just sort of making sure that
Yeah.
everybody sort of knows what's going on. And so that's sort of been, at least.
I would say that historically, it's probably been less of a role than it became this year, where I was kind of like trying to rally the troops for the advocacy. And also, I sent long emails to people who missed November, October, all those meetings, just to make sure everyone was well informed. So I think the library board has changed along with the face of library advocacy.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Does that help?
yeah, totally. I'm just like a big context person and my brain like needs to understand the backstory to certain
Thank
things,
you
so.
for asking these questions
Yeah.
because.
Still waiting on my sash too.
Official name.
See, if I would have known what was
See?
going on.
That
Yeah.
said, you got a binder and I did not get a binder like this, so.
Yeah. As well. I think that those questions are really helpful. I used to chair a committee. It was on a committee where I was on council. And we've actually allocated different types of budget towards board and commission training. And
Yeah.
so where there are gaps, where things are unclear, where you say, man, I wish there was a better onboarding process or a training process, sharing that feedback with us is very helpful.
Yeah.
To help, because you have your own experience that people who are doing this every day might not realize, like, oh, this is a big gap and I don't understand this. And that will help make the onboarding and the programming a lot better for the experience of board and commission members, because you guys are giving your time. Want to make sure you have the tools and the resources that you need to do that well and feel empowered to do that well. So please share.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Maybe that's something we can kind of include in our like end of the year, like, you know, year in review. And then even as like new members come in before the new year, we at least like have that information and data to possibly implement changes for, you know, new members.
Well, the one thing that we have done with your suggestion was that Gina came 15 minutes early, Edie came 15 minutes early last time, just so we could like touch base before. So thank you for that. All right. Anyone else?
Well, I think to add to that, as we know that there are going to be board seats open, I think I would like us as the board to start thinking about getting our network to apply. And quite frankly, it is real white in this room.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how do we proactively, as a board, reach out to folks and encourage them to apply? Because I stumbled upon it. No one recruited me. I was like, oh, on this wet lake. Oh, great. Like, and it's not, you know, I don't think a lot of people think about it that way as sort of community service. And so thinking about, as we know, seats are coming up, or if we're going to expand, or how do we sort of get the word out to expand the pool for council to make choices on, and how do we target certain areas of the city or certain populations we want to target, I think would benefit sort of just the general viewpoints of the whole board.
Absolutely.
That's something definitely we can work with communications on.
Yeah.
Try to expand how we do get the word out that we're looking for board members. Oh, that's great.
All right. Christina.
So the joint CIP meeting, I kind of joked about Chair Hassel here, but I need to get a head count of who wants to attend.
Debbie said that she was able to move that need.
Can we do?
Or was
Yeah,
that wrong?
I
Yeah.
talked to finance and explained that we would be holding elections in March. And she said we could get her the numbers after.
Okay,
Sorry.
think about it.
Yeah, again.
Again, but next month we'll have to pull the trigger. So we'll do the election.
Can you explain what CIP is?
Yeah, capital improvement projects. So like the single entry is what ours was for this year. And it could be further. We might expand that depending on the study that we're launching here this month. And then that'll be brought back to you and presented. And if we want to move forward as a board, that could be a recommendation. So.
Can you just make a reminder what the date is?
Oh, no.
April 24th.
Yeah.
I need to mind.
April,
It's in the binder.
April 24th.
I think I marked my calendar, but
You're just jealous.
I am, so.
And again, you could be virtual, you could be in person.
Okay.
As well.
I think.
And I believe last year they did library board first or near the beginning, so you don't have to stay for the whole.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
I know
first.
It's a long night, I don't remember.
We were first, where it was like, ha, bye.
Yeah, and I think we'll do that again since our CIP budget's very, very small compared to some of the others like Parks and Rec or Public Works, so. Yeah, so just so you know, it'll be in the beginning and then you can head out if you'd like to afterwards or log off.
I do think it's helpful, you know, for council to understand the thought and the strategy behind the requests that are being made. Last year was my first CIP process on council. You look at all of the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 requests, it's, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm looking at all of these asks and I said, okay, Shawn, how much is in the CIP this year? $8 million. And it was like, he's like, it's more than we've ever had. And so we really are looking for like, what are the most critical needs that we have in our community when we have a lot of competing priorities. So when you think about the library and even this last year, your experience and the challenges, I think it's about like what what are the things that strategically we need the most when we think about the experience? You know, I think like the lighting's a great example, entrance, like some of those things, and that context is really helpful. So I think as you guys think about the recommendations, that's.
Can I ask one quick question, sort of in council's perspective of, this is not our forever home, and we know that, or potentially, you know, I think with the redevelopment, I know last time I think we spoke, you were talking like, people are now starting to be reinterested again. Is there appetite to sink money into this space, knowing that it potentially is not our forever home?
Question, and one that I actually don't think council is unified on. I think
Sure.
some of us have strong others. I often think about it, like, I wouldn't want to do a lot of updates to a home that I knew I wasn't gonna stay in, especially if I was gonna tear it down versus like sell it. But there's a lot of unknowns about what that looks like now that we are starting over. We have an all-day 9 to 4 meeting on Saturday with the EDA and our partners in this space to talk about a vision casting for what this place could be. But I do think that that is on everyone's minds, and so it is something to consider. What are the things that we can do that make the library and this entire building functional for our staff, safe, first and foremost, and a good place to be for as long as we will be here. Aware though, in the back of our minds, that it is unlikely, even if this building remains, it stays in the exact same configuration that we have it now.
Thanks.
You know, the first meeting I went to at the city where they were talking about getting rid of this building was 7 years ago. I mean, I'm kind of thinking, well, we might just be here for a long time. Yeah.
And when we had a master developer and an actual, you know, timeline and a model and the whole thing, like it was in a different place, and so we will see, I think, this spring how that develops.
Okay. Can we quickly go through reports? I didn't even rehearsal.
So,
January is gonna be a little off.
yeah, there's a lot of things that are off about this. It's not just simply the 8 days of service, and that's
Yeah.
rounded up because technically it was like 7.5.
Yeah.
But I didn't want a half
That's
in there. That was gonna bug me the rest of the year. So, yeah, we really were only open 8 days. And I do want to remind you of, I believe that Carrie and I kind of brought this to everybody's attention as we were doing like door count analysis and stuff like that. The door counting software is a count of every in and out. And so we really wanted to be more intentional with reporting like a per person visit. So starting with January, the number is going to reflect like half the count because it's just going to be this trying to attempt to get a single person. So with that in mind, during those 8 days, we had just over 1,800 people. So that's a more like appropriate reflection of that. So it is like month over month, when you compare it to last year, it's going to look, even in a full month's time, will look significantly different. But I just want to, put that in your mind. I feel like a lot of our online stuff really stayed on par. Another thing I wanted to bring to your attention that Carrie and I will be working on cleaning up. Marmot, which is the consortium we're a part of, is implementing a requirement that all library card holders have a password. And that's going into effect at the end of March. So we have to really get on the ball of like pushing that out to the patrons, but it's with this situation, it's been on the back burner. But in our effort to, inform people about the change of their account access, we're cleaning up accounts in our database, our Sierra, because we think that there's a lot of the word I'm looking, like miscategorized account types. So because we think that the number of Englewood patrons registered is overstated by anywhere from 8 to 10,000, just based on the way that we utilize the dashboard from Marmot to tell us that data, because there's a large portion of accounts that actually are not clearly indicated if they're a resident or a non-resident. And so we need to get that stuff cleaned up, and that'll probably take us a couple months to do. And we're also going to be deleting expired accounts and doing a purge on accounts that have balances that are more than 3 years past due, stuff like that, because we're not going to recruit that. Those accounts will never be used again. So we're going to be doing a big account cleanup over the next couple of months as well. So those registered numbers will look like they're dipping, but that's mostly because we're cleaning up our database.
Will that impact like people who only use the Libby app?
No.
Okay, so then if they log on, they're gonna,
No, because it's different for Libby, because you already have to have a separate password for that.
Yeah.
It's really gonna be more for when you're logging onto a public computer, you're gonna have
Okay.
to enter a password.
okay,
When you're logging into your account on the Marmot catalog,
okay,
you have to use a password. It's not just type in your library card number anymore. It really will provide a lot more safety to
Mhm.
people's library cards account, because it's like now you drop yours on the floor,
Yeah.
and who picks it up, they can use it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be an improvement. So there will be some kind of changes in how that gets reported, because we're going to clean up that database.
Does the software allow you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, does the software allow you to know who's been active in the last 12 months? Like, I think that would be a real sort of key indicator of like, who's been active within 12 months time as like sort of our baseline number.
The thing is, I don't know that it would be, you would have to probably use a couple different things. Cause
Okay.
like, say you get a card because you really just want to use Libby or Hoopla. Now, those numbers don't necessarily come through, Sierra. So like when we get into the circulation area, the circulation numbers, those are just based obviously on the physical items we have. That's why we report the digital things separately. So Sierra doesn't track usage for the online things. We can look at the usage of the online part separately. But I don't know, I know in Hoopla, it will tell you the specific patron, but I don't know if Overdrive does
I
that.
just want to get us to like a baseline.
Yeah.
So you're not sort of like, we have all these people that they're 7
Well,
years old.
it
and
does
they've
it
never left.
automatically every 3 years, right?
See, this is the thing, it's not, this is not an automatic process. It's a
Oh.
process we have to implement and complete ourselves.
Okay.
And my understanding is that there just hasn't been staff or time to do it.
Yeah,
And because of the password project, I really am utilizing that as the impetus to like,
Okay.
we need to clean up our records.
okay.
Does the overcount of Englewood patrons, does that have anything to do with the fact that Englewood zip codes run like halfway to Kansas, or is it?
No.
No,
Okay.
It's not, because we actually, so for example, I just moved into my new house yesterday.
yay.
It's technically in Centennial, but a lot of times it's referred to as an Englewood zip code. But if I were to enter my address, it's gonna say Centennial. And so when we look at it, we would mark that as a non-resident.
Okay.
So it has to say Englewood, even if the zip code would be considered Englewood.
Does that include like Inglewood that's like
Dove Valley.
Dove Valley?
I don't know.
It shouldn't, I mean, because that is the.
I mean, I guess
mean,
it's
if
good for our numbers.
If
But
it's like, if the mailing address says Englewood, then it would.
so there, yeah, so there's. some
But
folks
we
that-
have, the thing that Carrie and I discovered in looking at this, and I think a lot of it was driven from the online registrations, particularly during COVID. Those didn't automatically get categorized as resident or non-resident, and they didn't necessarily get updated when cards were, because it requires like a manual renewal by,
Yeah,
or like
that's
a
the frequent
change in the information in the account. So we're gonna start cleaning that up and making those differentiations. So what happens in the dashboard when I look up, I just kind of exclude all the things marked non-resident. So there are probably lots of records that are non-resident, but they're not marked non-resident, but they're also not marked resident. They're just kind of a dash, but we lump them into resident. And so we caught on to that at the end of last year as we were looking at things in preparation for this password thing. Because if this population of Englewood is like 33,000, I don't think that 2/3 of Englewood has a library card.
Yeah,
It's just not realistic to think that that's true. But I think it's just more a matter of classification. I think our total number of registered patrons is accurate, because that's going to be across the metro area. But I don't think that the Englewood patrons is accurate, because we have certain things that need to get fixed.
2024 goals, 21,000.
So,
Beth, would there be a way for a person who doesn't use all these digital apps to learn more about said digital apps?
yes, you can actually on the library's webpage through the city, there is a left-hand navigation bar and it says like streaming and downloads. There are brief tutorials loaded there that teach you how to get started with them.
Gotcha.
And when we reopen, we will be increasing our tech assist sessions where we'll have a staff member available to help give people instruction for that.
And that's the one through the main city webpage, not through the. Marmot.
Right, not through the Marmot, just through the main city page where it's kind of got more like the informational stuff about the library. But so yeah, all of our digital stuff was continuing to be used strongly. And, you know, questions answered wasn't actually that bad. Because we had quite a few, you know, and just in those first few days that we were open, but during the time that we closed, we did have 44 email questions. I don't normally count those separately. And some of the like 751 adult questions in the 8 days we were open could have included email stuff. But I don't normally break those out, but we did have an increase in communications during the latter part of the month via email. And then the program stayed pretty strong because they were able, the only things that they had to cancel for youth was the teen hangouts on Tuesday afternoons. They decided not to do that, but everything else went forward. There was a couple adult programs that got canceled. One was due to weather and the presenting group chose to cancel. And I can't remember what else? Oh, and we canceled all the Resource Connects while we're closed. We're not doing anything at all for Resource Connect right now. So those were out. But that's pretty much it. We had one incident report. And it was an MRU call where we called the mobile response unit to assist a patron. So that was the gist of that.
Good job for
Yes.
pivoting.
Yes,
Like-
kudos to you and the staff.
Yeah.
Did they cover this when you were getting your? MLS?
What?
How they deal with that?
A list of things I didn't learn in library school.
Yeah.
Okay. The next bit was the draft plan. So this is what we kind of have been able to kind of put together. I'm sorry that it came out to you guys so late. I have personal issues. One of my kids was in the hospital for a week again. Not my older daughter this time. Whatever, all kinds of stuff. And then I just kind of got stuck behind and didn't have a very clear draft. So I was able to put this together. And I really appreciated the feedback from all of you about like, don't let this get too long and out of hand. Because originally I was thinking each kind of department within the library, like youth, adult, tech services, circulation, everybody should have a few things. And then we were like, scrap that. So just focus on some kind of more broad things for the whole library. So the kind of the key things we settled on was the volunteer program, implementing the cultural arts passes and non-traditional item lending program, the partnerships with Inglewood schools, staff development, and then library marketing.
Yep, this looks great.
Yeah, that's great.
And there's still some things I want to put in here that's a little bit more, because Andy, I did appreciate your feedback about, you know, having really specific goals and kind of using that SMART goal planning approach so that we can be very specific and intentional about what we're trying to do here. So there's a couple things we need to get a little bit more detail on, particularly regarding the schools and the staff development, but if anybody has any questions or other additional feedback or something that you don't see here that you really think should be included.
I have a question about the staffing because it didn't really get covered. Are we on the same trajectory for hiring that we thought we would be in January as far as like, will the new staff potentially be hired by Easter or whatever to have?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty, I mean, at this point, we're like trying to make sure we coordinate with when the budget supplemental stuff goes through and is approved. Cause like we technically can't do it till that stuff is all in place. but that's gonna go to council on the 21st. The next start date for any new hires would be the 27th of February.
Okay.
So that would be the earliest that we would have people start.
Oh.
And I think we actually will have the whole slate ready.
Oh, you have.
We've already interviewed for the part-time.
Wow.
That
Okay.
happened all last week. We were told to
Great.
move forward by Shawn.
Yeah.
Just to get it ready. And so offers, I think, are being made this week to start on the 27th. And then the 2 library 1 positions, we have some internal staff that will be graduating this summer from a library school. So they are good candidates for that staff to interview and be successful at getting the job. But if those are internal, that'll give us 2 more part-times to
Yep.
bring in and we can move quickly because they can start immediately once the job offer is made pretty
Okay.
much. So we're in a really good position right now. We just have to get in front of council on the 21st and get that approved and
Okay.
we're in a really good spot.
Cool. I was just thinking about the strategic opening and
Yes.
making sure that that timeline
Yeah, and I
maybe
don't
lines
know-
up.
Yeah,
or-
like it would be great to have a little bit of time to do some new hire training
Yeah.
before we open, because we can cover kind of some of the things that just like the tools you use to help patrons. Because it's
Yeah.
great to do kind of on the job training, because then you have situations that you can utilize in your
Mhm.
training. But it would be great to be able to do some of that stuff before we have patrons. But honestly, with the way that they planned the hire of the new staff that we had just on January 3rd, Carrie and Corinne put together a really great training schedule. And it worked out really well, even when we were open. So I feel like they've really been strengthening that process for, getting new hires trained and stuff like that. So even if we were open to the public, it would still go real smoothly.
Great.
What kind of process are you looking at on the book donations?
Oh, so mostly like the biggest thing is where would we store them?
Yeah.
That's probably the number one thing.
Yeah,
Having somebody that can like take a box of donations and look through it and say, this is in bad condition, throw it out or recycle. Or like, this is an outdated textbook from 1978, nobody's gonna buy that, recycle, something like that. So just kind of giving some training to volunteers about how to kind of have an eye for what would be a good item in a sale versus what wouldn't be.
You don't currently accept.
We don't like purposefully purposefully accept donations. We get them.
Okay.
We currently participate in a program with a company or organization called Dream Books. Yeah, Dream Books. I always want to call it Wonder Books. Those are those
yeah.
few ones. Dream Books. They come, and it's predominantly our discards. They come and get our discards. They kind of process them and they give us like a payment based on their evaluation of the titles or whatever. So we probably we might still do some of that and then potentially save discards and then donations for a book sale, because discards can still contain quality items that we have multiple copies. Now we've pared it down to one. So that would be kind of like the process that we would come up with.
Cool.
I think to add to this, and it's something I brought up last year, but I really want to get into this year is formalizing a library foundation. Because when
Like a
you think-
friends group or a foundation?
I think a way that we can offset costs.
Yeah.
So, looking at a couple of different options, but like getting a Google AdWords grant is $10,000 a month of free advertising, right? Like I got it for the school board foundation, like I get it for, I think, but we need a tax ID number. I think when you say things like, oh, we had to cut $20,000, I'm like, I'll go write a grant, but like, there's no vessel to do that right now. And so I would like to circle on with city staff, and I won't bore everybody, but like,
And I sort of envision getting the volunteer program up and running as the vehicle to getting there, because then once you start getting a good core of volunteers, that's your first friends board. So that's kind of, I feel like, the way to really push that forward, because otherwise it would be like, you guys have got to be the friends.
Yeah.
But can you do both things? I'm not sure if that's allowed, but that's sort of my kind of longer term vision, is if we can have like a successful, and I think the book sale is like the key activity to launch a friends group.
Yeah.
Those things can make a ton of money.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then that would be something that would be like, the friends would kind of be in charge of the volunteers for the
Mhm.
library and planning and, you know, running book sales and whatever.
Yep.
So that's sort of my kind of underlying goal for this.
That's how is like general morale with staff right now?
I think actually pretty good. We do have a few staff, that are, you know, have, personal health issues who are concerned about what are the health implications. So like Shawn was saying, we're getting better information and advice. So I just like pushed out an update today, and sharing an article with them from,
The one Gina sent, was it? Yeah.
The Ann Schutz one?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, Gina shared that with us.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that was the one I pushed out to them because I thought, when I read through it, I'm like, this really addresses the concerns people keep asking about. And then I was kind of outlining where we're at with the cleaning process and kind of what the plans are. So, because I really want to emphasize to the staff that, you know, this is not just like a one and done thing, and if it comes back, it comes back. Like, I'm trying to really impress upon them that we're making some changes that are going to be positive and proactive towards preventing this in the future, and that your health and safety is important. So I think, for the most part, people were really happy when we started doing the curbside again, because it gave them like kind of like a more purposeful thing to do while they were here. But I think they're also a little bit enjoying the kind of the downtime from the public, because we're catching up with certain projects we've been wanting to do, and we're really going to be able to reopen kind of refreshed and having new things to kind of share and showcase to the public.
Yeah.
So I think I would say that it's pretty good, and people are looking forward to reopening, but very much like what we've discussed, want to make sure that it's intentional, that we're prepared, that we have the right message to go out, to reassure the public that the library is, you know, a safe place to come. We're, you know, prepared, with some new processes, and, you know, we're going to be doing these things going forward. This is what we've done. This is what we will be doing going forward, kind of that kind of stuff.
I know that the programming, like especially the children's, has like a lot of repeat customers, you know, but I think the fact that the programming has maintained its like really strong numbers is so positive for the community.
For sure.
When we do think about reopening, I think it's a good chance to sort of also introduce Arapahoe County, hell, I'm gonna keep calling them tri-state, so sorry, tri-county. But I think it would be helpful to have like a medical professional, like do a Facebook Live. I don't know if a lot of people are gonna watch it, but like, I think just having it or materials or something will be helpful, because I think.
I do have and I think that's what we were talking about, Christina, when you and Carrie and I were talking about what would the kind of points be. I have a contact at Arapahoe County Health that has been working with the Change the Trend group, about just kind of fact sheets about, you know, health concerns regarding the meth situation. So I've been reaching out to her to like get some kind of like recommended talking points that would be helpful, not just to give to the staff, but to the public as well. So we are getting that connection going.
Does anyone have anything
Any other
else?
questions about the
Action plan?
Good draft.
It looks really strong.
Okay, I'll probably have a couple more details into it, and then the final, like next month will be final draft, put it into place.
Yep.
I mean, and some of these things we've sort of already accomplished, but that's kind of purposeful to say that, you know, these first 2 months have been productive. And then my personal goal to really have one by the end of December for next year.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Then staff's choice, anything else?
I probably won't send an update this week since you've been bombarded with
Yeah.
everything I would have updated you with, unless something big changes, which I don't really anticipate happening with the cleaning or anything like that. So if you have questions, always reach out. Feel free to email myself or Beth or even Debbie, and we're happy to answer questions. So I appreciate all your support through this. This has been a unique time for me.
Unique time on top of unique times.
Exactly.
The job skills you You're gonna get it.
I just wanted to say thank you to Maggie, because I think the Sacred Grace is your congregation. Thank you for sending the notes to the staff. That was really sweet. So I just want to say thank you for that, and share that if you don't have plans Friday night, there's an adult murder mystery that will take place here in the second floor community room. There are still spots available. You can call the library or email myself or Corinne. So we did it. They did one for parents. Because they did a murder mystery for, I think, like teens and tweens last year. And then they did a parents only one. And it was such a hit that Corinne was like, we're going to do another adults murder mystery. So just wanted to mention that Friday night.
Board members' choice. Chelsea, is there anything you want to add on from?
No, I mean, just the two things that I was gonna bring up is that we are voting on the budget amendment on the 21st, and then we have this meeting session all day on Saturday about the future of this space, which has huge implications for our library, so more to come after Saturday.
Is that happening in the council chambers? It's virtual too.
Oh, where's it happening? I can't remember. I think it might be happening in this room.
Will it be running on YouTube or the city website at the same time?
Yes, I do believe that we will be, yes, it's gonna be in the community room on the second floor. So we should be live streaming.
Anyone else for?
The Girl Scout cookies lasted about 4 hours.
My daughter's son. If anyone really wants some, let me know.
Get a sash.
Yeah, right?
Where's my sash badge?
If I can comment as a new board member,
Yeah.
I loved Inglewood before I showed up to this meeting tonight. And man, I really love Inglewood. I love it so much. And this just goes to show, I think, why we have such a great city. Shawn was outstanding in his thoughtfulness of preparing, the city, but also the library for thinking ahead, right? These prevention efforts and what can we do to safety? And Beth, you're awesome. I think Inglewood is so lucky to have you.
Yeah. Truly.
And it sounds like you're doing such great things. So here I come to this meeting going, oh, I love books. This is going to be great. And then I'm like, this group is awesome. I need to step up my game. So I just want to say thank you for, saying yes to having me be on the board, because I look forward to continuing to learn more about Inglewood. And then we'll make t-shirts that say, I love Inglewood even more than I thought I did before. So, yeah, thanks, Beth.
All right. Edie, do you have anything, just so I don't neglect you? You good?
Oh,
Okay, cool.
good meeting.
All right. It is 8:35. We will adjourn. Thank you all so
Thanks, everybody.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then how do you get the red